So you're waiting for me?
I am calling this meeting of the Manascutney School District Board to order at 6:31 p.m. Let's see. Changes and additions to the agenda. I have one addition to the agenda. I'd like for us to talk about reporting bullying. And we can add that to the end.
So E under discussion?
Yep. Okay. Anybody else have additions or changes to the agenda for this evening? Okay. Let's see. Minutes. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from September 11th.
So moved, Davis?
Second, Nancy?
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving minutes from September 11th, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Okay. The board involvement report.
Did I ever mention the group from Ethiopia? Did I do that at the last meeting?
No.
I came to the assembly on a Friday, and it was amazing. These four men came out initially with instruments that you've never seen before. I don't even know, because I couldn't quite understand them all the time, what they were. And they started playing, and everyone was happy. And then they opened up and the kids started yelling. It was wonderful. And then dancers came out, and then more singers, and they invited kids up, 6, they came down and got them up and had them call and response. And then they invited everyone at the end. And the kids had their phones out, but they had their lights. They were doing this, they were dancing in the aisles, and they said, come on up, and the place just emptied, and they came and they had them snaking around and doing more call and response. It was fabulous. It was just happening.
So I wanted to get there, but I didn't. Oh, that's.
You would have loved it.
I know.
Thank you, Nancy.
Oh,
I'm glad you attended that.
Mm.
I'm glad I did too.
That was something to attend.
And everybody was, in fact, somebody I know quite well came out crying, and I said, what? And she said, it was so wonderful. It was really a great thing.
Okay. Anybody else?
I am almost ready to schedule my drop-in times. It's been, just chatting with some folks before, I've had an irregular schedule compared to last year, so I'm working on finding those times. But I am excited to be dropping by the ABS curriculum night on
Nice.
Thursday.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
I will be meeting with Kate Ryan's gonna take me around the school on Fridays.
You're gonna really
Excellent.
enjoy that.
We'll see you at ABS.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's been nice to see that building a little bit more this year.
It's nice when it's with kids and families.
Anybody else?
I'm there every day.
Totally involved.
Okay, I'm gonna move to public participation in announcements, and before I do that, I'm going to read that public comment is not legally required, but we believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns over issues. Through these meetings, our board models for our students how to conduct public discourse the board members and members of our community can approach controversial issues in a civil and constructive manner and can demonstrate mutual respect. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. The public comment is not designed for discussion. Okay, public?
Dave Taft, Windsor. The first thing I'd like to do is thank Hudson because I didn't know we had a meeting tonight and he missed me so much, he told me. And so anyway, thank you. And the reason I didn't know is because I checked the post office and it was never posted at the post office. And I don't think the post office is one of your official places because after he told me, I went to the town hall and it was at the town hall. But what I'd like to say is a few months ago, I asked about I know that the procedures in place to get another student representative on the board, and I was wondering if the board has thought any about that, if there's been any discussion. And I'd like to put out the plea that if there is, that the procedure changes because we're in a really hot election situation in this country, and I think it's a great opportunity for students to learn the proper procedure of how government works from the ground up. And I know 100 years ago when I was in high school, every year we had an election. We elected president, vice president, student council representation. And I just can't understand why we've gone so far away from the basics that we don't do that anymore. But anyway, thank you very much. And thanks, Hudson. Keep me abreast at the coffee clutch, okay?
I will.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, we do have a regular student council and they are elected by their peers. It's just that we have a separate procedure for this. And that is partially because of the time required for each of those things. It doesn't, we don't bar anybody from applying to be a student representative. So a member of the student council could do it, but I think when we were coming up with the procedures, we were trying to be sensitive about how much time is involved already with student council. So we wanted to make it as open as possible. We also wanted to make it so that anybody could, without being elected to the student council, be a student rep on the board, because we don't necessarily always want to have type A personalities, you know. So that's why there's a differentiation.
I will
Yeah.
also say, if it was elected, then the student council officials do get elected, but it is a popularity contest at the end of the day. And it doesn't always work out in the end. And I think if like the elections for student council, but this is an appointed position, I think it kind of weighs out. But yeah, thank you for your input, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody online who would like to speak? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to student presentation of learning.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. I think this is me tonight, and a little bit of an apology in advance. I do have a short video that I am struggling with my broadband internet here on top of my mountain in Putney. So I've been trying to buffer it all day, but I have not gotten too far. So what I may have to do is Dropbox that to folks at a later time. But I do have our Leader in Me newsletter, which I can share with folks. Just give me a sec. And I'll give a little context for this as well, and then follow it up with some invitations for future viewings of all of the amazing things happening with leadership at Windsor School actually in place. So give me just a sec here. Okay, this is our September Leader in Me newsletter. And I have to start off by saying I can take absolutely no credit for this. Our Lighthouse team of Amber Bennett, Jesse Taft, Tori Muller, and Paige Lambert, all part of our teacher team here at Windsor, have put this together for the Windsor team and for families to get a snapshot of what the structural work for Leader in Me looks like. So it's a relatively new program for me, a couple years in for us here at Windsor. And it's really this work and this team's work to set the architecture, set the structures and systems so that our school can be student-led. And we've worked our way towards those things this year in leaps and bounds with these folks. And really, really excited to have more student leadership. So a couple things that are highlighted in this newsletter here are school assemblies and leadership awards. We had our last one this last Friday. The video clip I'm talking about is of our first graders leading and sharing their poetry. So hopefully you'll get to see that once I get that uploaded for you all. It's about 4 minutes long and has a really nice snapshot of students reading and sort of what those look like. And also just remember those are
Usually comes back.
Sergio, if you can't hear us, you froze up there.
yeah, my internet is not great here. Hopefully it will improve. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Also highlighted in this newsletter, and hopefully something that you will get to see in that video, and also if you tour our amazing school, our leadership roles. Those are lunch helpers. We started that last year, but just one of the roles. Most of them are in the classroom and throughout our school. We have folks who take care of our recycling, so that our school is kept tidy and kept moving along by our student leaders, which is really, really cool. Also, you will see community building exercises. This year, we started off with a full elementary school morning meeting. Right now, I lead that meeting, but hopefully in the next month or so, our action team will be helping turn that over to our students, grade band by grade band. So we're very much looking forward to that in the next couple months. And hopefully they let me continue to participate. It's been a lot of fun getting to exercise my radio voice in the morning, but a really neat way for us to share some topics of the day, share some important things that are going on in our school, and help bring everybody together. So once those are up and running, we'd love to have some board members drop in as well, if you can, to share the way we start our day together. So very cool. Also in here, you'll see some of the direct teach examples and class mission statements and the setting. School.
We lost you again, Sergio.
Student goals. No, sorry. You lost
Okay.
me again.
Gotcha.
And am I back?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, everyone. Just lastly, I will say one of the goals that we are looking forward to towards the end of this year, and again, it's our amazing team helping put this in place so our students can lead, is student-run conferences. That's our big goal for the end of this school year when we do our spring conferences. So looking forward to that, and looking forward to a little bit more stable broadband here. Hopefully that comes to my neck of the woods soon enough, but look forward to sharing that video with you here shortly.
I have a question.
Please.
Where is your morning meeting? Where does it take place?
It takes place online. So I am in my office usually, and then we Zoom into all the smart boards in all of our classrooms so that we can all see each other up on our little tiles. It's a trick many of us learned during COVID, but it's a way to sort of broadcast it throughout the whole school and have it be pretty efficient. So instead of moving, 200 or so students from to and fro. We get everybody settled into their classrooms, and then we all Zoom in together for our 5-minute morning meeting before they start their classroom morning meeting. So it's a nice community touch point, and it's been a really neat thing this year. And I'm really looking forward to playing a supporting role here as our students take it over in the next month or so.
I have a question. I don't know, but I know Ann Gillette at some point had reached out, and I'm wondering, has he connected at all with the school recycling program?
I think he did last year. He came a couple times. He came to the board meeting. And Jim and I did a tour of the grounds, and to make sure there are, every time there's a trash can, there needs to be a recycling bin. So Jim has taken care of that. So yeah, Ann's great resource. He'll come and stand and direct children to where to go, where to put their compost, where to put their trash in the school animal. So
He is awesome. That's good.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Sergio.
Thanks, Sergio.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was great.
Thanks.
Okay, the next item on our agenda for this evening is the administrative report. Sure. Pull it up.
That's right. Okay. All right. So, who is starting off? Is that you?
I can go ahead and start us off again. Apologies, I get to hear my voice again here. Yeah, big ideas here are our first open house coming up here on October 19th, community events and some trips and opportunities that Kate and Colleen, I'm sure, and Jennifer will talk about here. Next slide. Okay, thanks. I'll start with the pre-K 5 highlights. Been a great start to the year. It's really nice to be settling in and sort of past the liftoff phase of our school year. As much fun as that is, it's nice to be kind of settling into our groove with our systems up and running for the school year. I think we're certainly seeing the benefit of some of the things that we worked hard on last year, like our schedule, that made our morning meetings possible. So that's been really, really great. And big thanks to all the folks who worked on that. As I said just a moment ago, our first real full community open house, we did have one just before the school year for K-8, but our big full one here, October 19th, very much looking forward to that. We've had some great faculty ideas. We ran into a great problem for our first community dinner, which was we had a lot of people. So the line was quite long. So we're looking to, provided numbers and staffing work out, have 2 sides. So during the school day, if you're here, you'll see lunch being served in the little gym and also the high school cafeteria. So we're looking to do a similar structure to hopefully get folks in through our amazing food service to get their meals so that they can get out into classrooms and out into our open house. So looking forward to that. And again, a great problem to have, lots and lots of folks. So there will be an official RSVP going out here so that we can get some really finer numbers for our dining services folks, and looking forward to getting that out soon. As I said a moment ago, our morning meetings have been off, and that's been great fun for me, and looking forward to those being student-led here in the next month or so.
Sergio, we lost you.
Am I back?
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully I can get through this without losing you all again. Let's see. Walking Wednesdays are back. A big thank you to Tracy Kohler. She's leading our Walking Wednesday from the Price Chopper Plaza. Nice, bright and early. Foggy walks this time of year, but a really nice, pretty, and active way to start walking to school. So information about that is in our newsletter, but we're excited to have that back. Another shout out to Tracy. Tracy set up a story walk for us. I think many folks may be familiar with the similar structure at public libraries around, where a book is basically taken in plates and put around on a walking tour. And so that's been out on our turf. We've got a little work to patch it up, but it's been out on our turf this week. And big thanks for doing that, Tracy. And our last thing is National Fire Prevention Week. So Windsor Fire is coming to town on, well, they live here, I guess, but will be coming to Windsor School on Wednesday with their trucks and some tips for fire prevention and safety. So very much looking forward to that. If you see fire trucks outside Windsor School on Wednesday morning, yeah, it's a good thing. Looking forward to that.
Sergio, what is the walking tours? Where is,
Story walk?
yeah, the story?
Well, the story walk,
Where-
it's out on the turf. So some of it has come down. We're looking to put it back up, but it would be along the outer perimeter on the inside of the turf fence.
And what time does Walking Wednesdays start?
I believe it is 7:15 at the Price Chopper Plaza.
Thank you.
7:20 or 7.
It might be 7:20.
I
She may have
think she
adjusted.
upped it to 7:30 this year, but we showed up at 7:20.
And Sergio, what time does the open house start on the 19th?
5:30 on 10/19.
Excellent, thank you.
And is that full school or just elementary?
That is full Windsor School.
Great. 5:30.
30 for 10.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you all online. I wanted to share some of the 6th through 8th grade events, and I'll share some of the 9th through 12th grade events as well. One of the presentations the middle school has had recently is getting to know the people who work in our building. First, we had our school resource officer, Officer Favreau. He talked to the students about 3 important things that are part of his job, which include online social media usage, reminding our students, supporting our new cell phone protocol, and reminding students how to be safe and use their phones properly. He talked to students about attendance, since he supports our truancy meetings at school. And he also talked to students about physical hands-on, keeping hands to self. One of the topics Christine shared in her superintendent newsletter, just kind of keeping that expectation across the board for all students. Our hope is to have more people right in our building, like Jim Taft and our maintenance crew and custodial crew, also meeting to talk to our students, our food services staff, help our students to really be comfortable with the people they work with, find a mutual respect with the people that are in our building, and there to support our students. Next, we have Getting to Why, and that's happening in middle school and high school. It is happening on October 19th, an opportunity for students, middle school and high school students, to go with our 2 adult leaders, our SAP counselor, Rachel Losby and Mr. Malloy are taking students. We have at least 4 high school students who are going to be going, and we are looking to have 4 middle school students join them. Kate will be sharing permission slips with them. This opportunity is our students looking at their Vermont, Windsor, West Windsor, Mount Escutney data from the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, and discussing that amongst other students in Vermont, and what kind of strategies can they bring out of that meeting together, looking at the data. So that's happening on October 19th. One of the pieces that's important to us in our goals this year is more parent engagement and tracking data on how many people are seeing our newsletters, which I put up here at the top of the slide. We're sending our newsletter out to about 565 families, new emails, pre-K through 12. We get about 400 on average per newsletter checking it out. So we had 5 September newsletters this month. With the parent engagement, we're also, the middle school team has put out a survey for parents to also tell us about what their students are doing with their 7 habits at home, and to please share some of those ideas, examples of how students are being proactive and seeking first to understand at home. So we'll highlight some of that and share out how our parents are staying involved with that as well. Lastly, for middle school, we are gearing up again with our monthly academic success awards from our teachers. In September, our first 3 students who received the academic success awards were 8th grader Madigan Rich, 7th grader Sophia Williams, and 6th grader Seamus McGrath. So super proud of them, and we will have another 3 students, 1 from each grade level, for October. For Kate, she wanted to share that we have 2 trips that recently happened in the high school. Our high school science teachers took students to the Hood Museum in Amherst, Mass. Science Museum, looking at some fossils, and the students had a lot of positive feedback, and the trip was quite successful. Everyone enjoyed that. Another opportunity that came up was Ms. Gogan and Ms. Vivian took students to the Women Can Do conference recently, and they also received a lot of positive feedback. And I think this is maybe our 3rd or 4th year going to that, and I believe Ms. Engwall is another teacher who supports that event each year. I've already spoken a little bit about getting to why. Thursday afternoons, the high school team is working to support high school students through their academics, through their social and emotional learning, and they're meeting Thursdays afternoons to work with students that are part of the high school lighthouse committee, I believe, to start making connections for what our students need. And homecoming weekend is coming up this week. It's Spirit Week. We have 4 days of spirit going on in our school, mostly in our high school. And Friday, I think I'm wrong, I think the bonfire is Friday night, if I'm correct, and Saturday night is dance. Thursday night is bonfire? Yeah.
Yes.
The bonfire is Thursday night. There is a game on Friday. I believe it's field hockey, and Saturday is football and soccer, and the dance on Saturday night.
I have a question.
What time is the game on Saturday?
1 and 4. 1 is football and soccer is 4.
When is the dance?
Saturday night at 8:30, maybe.
Sorry, go ahead. That sounds late.
Okay. Colleen, I just wanted to ask, comment on the presentations that community members are doing for students. First of all, I think that's such a great idea. Is this the first year you're doing this?
No, our SRO has met with our students each year, probably more than once a year. Last year we had our custodians were like supporting students if we had maybe some behaviors that weren't so positive, maybe cleaning up some spaces in the cafeteria. We wanted to make sure that students, we always use our restorative practices and have students talk with people who've been affected by the situation. And sometimes our cafeteria staff or our custodians are helping students by cleaning things up and appreciate a conversation about what it means to them to help support the school and clean up. And it goes a lot farther, and students get to know our staff and respect the work they're doing in our building. And that's what we're hoping for, that our students are seeing all the adults that work in the building as supporting roles. And they do so much for our students, and they care so much. So we also like to have them involved in talking to students so that they can say, this is why I do what I do.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. I think it's very valuable, as you said, in more ways than I can imagine. But I think it is really very valuable, very important. Also, to be able to develop that relationship with the staff, all staff in the building, and respect what all folks in the building do. So I think that's great. And the second question, I do have a question, and that's regarding the newsletter. It sounds like you get hits from lots of folks. Do you get any feedback from folks on the newsletter, meaning outside of the community?
Now, every weekend I ask the IT team, our webmaster Ryan, to post it. Usually if we get feedback, it usually comes directly to Kate, Sergio, or I, depending on the grade level. So not specifically through the e-blast of the school messenger when this goes out. I usually only get auto replies of who's not able to get it because they're out of the office. But usually people just go directly to Sergio, Kate, or I.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Colleen.
Yeah.
Anybody else have questions? All right, take it away,
All
Jennifer.
right, so just update on Elder Bridge, where we are. We're finishing the end of our first 6 weeks of school, which we focus on a community as our first 6 weeks. So we do a lot of work going around part of our play spaces, really getting to know the community members in different ways. So one of the more recent things, Sergio is having fire awareness, fire prevention awareness, fire safety. This week coming up, we just recently went to our local fire department. And all students got to take a tour of different components of that and learn some about how to be safe at different levels. We've also got other community members who are coming in to help out. For example, two of our 6th graders are interested in learning a foreign language, so we have a community member coming in to teach Russian to them, which is part of what we hope is part of the continuation of passion courses. So we're really excited about that. Great collaboration with Scutney Outdoors as well, part of our ongoing connections with our community. I want to give a huge shout out to Angela and her team. The new curriculum, while anything new is hard, and when you've been teaching for a long time, you have to go and change it out. That's hard. But I'm getting real positive feedback from teachers about just having an anchor point with this new curriculum. The Eureka Squared is just the next step of Eureka, which we've been doing for a while, but really having that comprehensive ELA all in one bundle that we then can supplement and enhance is really helpful. And it also is, the kids are finding ways to engage with the content in all kinds of ways. It's really exciting to go in and just hear them really excited about what they're learning about, and thinking about how that then can connect to our place-based work. So that's really helpful. So huge shout out to Angie and her team, just really helpful to have that. We talked a little bit last time about how we work as adults is really important, and I just want to shout out to my staff. The teamwork there is really impressive. They are constantly trying to problem solve together as a team, and this is a lot have to do with things like our instructional coaching approaches, our mentoring, right, the things that are in place, but just the ability for them to work together and just talk through. We have like our Tuesday afternoons are set up to talk about like kids. We come together and talk about what a kid might be struggling with, and we together work to find some possible solutions and test out. And that's just really exciting to see teachers doing that and getting excited to share their knowledge and learn from each other. for the sake of our kids. We are starting, part of our Leader in Me work is we just started our student leadership, or student lighthouse team is what it's technically called. And we had multiple kids apply. We have extended it for a week for some kids who are still trying to get the application in, because it is a bit of an application process. But they have opened up their student leadership team to say they want to invite everybody who wants to talk about whatever their topic is once a week. So for example, they decided they want to talk about recess. So all kids who want to talk about recess options were invited to come to that. So it wasn't just the student leadership teams making that decision. They opened it up to everybody. So that was really exciting to see that in action. So student leadership, kids who want to be on that leadership team, then saying, we don't want to hold all the answers. We want your voice in that too.
Did they do that on their own?
Pretty much. I mean, we're going to have a student leadership meeting and they're like, we want everybody. So yeah. Yeah, they're really strong advocates for themselves when we slow down enough to let them have their voice. So that's really exciting. And then just another school connections. We're able to bring some of our students over here during that passion course for the middle school for our 6th graders, and that's really exciting. We've got some kids joining bands and other kids, different classes. So lots of choice there. Some kids are staying back at Albert Bridge because that's the easiest place for them to, for example, study Russian. So that's really exciting. Then it was also really exciting just to see some of our older kids who have moved down from Albert Bridge over here at Windsor. When I went to the Farm to Wilderness thing, and just nice to have that sense of continuity and connection in a way that I'm really starting to appreciate, in a way that maybe we didn't have for quite some time. So that's
I'd like to thank Colleen. Are you still here?
Yes, yes, I am. Yes, I am.
I'd really like to thank you for pulling that together for the Albert Bridge kids. I know that.
I believe Jennifer did just as much as pulling that together. Our team wanted them and was happy to have them.
Thank you for pulling that together. That was, from what I understand, only from a very, very small sample. It was wildly successful and they loved it. And so thank you for helping them be included.
Yes, definitely. And we're working to find ways to be to slow down enough to be more proactive, which is hard to do, but we've got a couple of people now kind of keeping an extra eye out for it. So that's helpful too.
Thank you.
I just want to make a comment. I just want to let you know that I had met with a parent a year or two ago regarding the children and some learning issues that they were experiencing at ABS. When she reached out to me to just really compliment what ABS has done with her kids, and the kids are just doing, are really phenomenal. And I just really, between you and Angie Ledoux, I just need to know that I knew that situation seemed like a really hard situation to pull together, but whoa, it was done. And the kids are just fluent. They're just amazing. And so I've seen it, I've heard it, but I've just seen it come, how great. And I just wanted to thank, you, and although I don't know if the parent would reach out to you, but thank you and Angela doing.
It really is.
Christine,
And there's an equity component too, right? So the work that we're able to do at Albert Bridge is also the work that we're able to do across the board now. And I think that is when we talk about equity, well, equal is not helpful. I think equity is really what we want to anchor. Like, it's going to look a little different because of the makeup of different schools around us. But having that base, that foundation helps us all kind of push forward. And so, we have our challenges, but, creative problem solving and lots of support help us support the kids better.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Thank you.
And administrators and staff who are willing to take a risk, which is really important, yeah. So I think I'm off. My report's in the portal. I'm not gonna repeat it all because you all get to hear it at the SU board meeting, but I pulled out a couple things that I thought were important. One is the invitation to the fall VSBA, VSA workshop.
Annual meeting.
Annual meeting, thanks Elizabeth. At Lake Maury, October 26th and 27th. If you can go to any or all of it, that would be awesome. If you can and you want to sign up, just email Lori Brown. She'll take care of all the details for you. It's really a really good meeting, I found.
What day is that again?
The 26th.
26th and 27th. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight, because I wanted the community that didn't attend, that maybe didn't attend the SU board meeting, one of the WSESU board goals is to really engage the community. And so they are doing it in different ways, but one of the ways is through a question of the month. And I wanted to share the results of the first question of the month of September, which is really about how parents and guardians, caretakers like to communicate between the school and the families. And a majority still rely on email, and that's good because we use email. Robocalls and text messaging were the other two popular means of communication. So I think we're on track with communication. We do those things. And I know Rebecca said, you do send letters still. We do. We try to reach people in whatever way is comfortable for them. So the October question went out. I don't have the results yet. I will in a couple weeks, which was really around report cards and how people really appreciate getting feedback about how their students are doing. So those are the only two things I pulled out of my report. I'm happy to take any questions. I will say, because it wasn't mentioned, Kate was planning to be here, but she couldn't make it at the last minute. So she probably would have mentioned this if she was here, but I get to. So she did. She's really trying to encourage community and fun for the kids. So she's done some excellent activities. That concert that Nancy was talking about, Ethnic Color, I think they were called. She emailed me and she's like, can we do it? And I was like, yes, let's figure out how to pay for it. And it was amazing. She's done, she had the seniors decorating the senior lounge. And
Wasn't that what they were doing today?
no, today they were painting their parking
Oh,
spots.
that's what it was. That's
So they were out there, kids came between 1 and 3. I was there for about an hour watching them design and paint. Hopefully the paint stays, it doesn't go away. But they were having a great time out there. So if you drive in the back parking lots, it's the back row where they were assigned. And I think the parking lot update, which I can give, because it was on the agenda for the administrative report. What Jim and his crew have done is quite amazing, actually. When the church parking lot option didn't really pan out, we pivoted and we were able to make more spots down at the end of the drive where the soccer field is. There's some spaces down there. Jim was here today. Gravel or hardpack was being trucked in. He took some trees out, I believe, at the corner. One of his concerns about that parking spot was the potential for some T-boning, like you couldn't see around the corner, so he made it safer. He was out there all day working today. So I think the parking is taken care of for now. Each senior has a parking pass to hang in their all the students, I believe, in their little on their mirrors, so that you know who's parking where. And they've been very good about it, very respectful. And cell phone update, just letting you know, I mean, it's going pretty well. Kids are being respectful, parents are being supportive. We've had a few that have tried, obviously, and they've been, we followed the procedure that we laid out, and so it's been good. I've had actually some calls from some parents from some other districts, and the newspaper called or emailed today, and they'd like to hear what we're doing, which is not that different from many other high schools in the area. So it's just being consistent and clear and following through. So it's been good so far. So fingers crossed for what continues. Yes.
Christy, I know that I had spoken to Jim Taft regarding that area that supposedly is
The brown
brown field. And I'm not talking about now, but I was thinking about it and said, maybe all they need to really do is cover that up. I mean, if Windsor may want to consider that as parking space for the future, because right now you're good, but down the road, you may need some more. And I don't think they'll ever build anything on there unless they clean it out, and that will cost so much. But I'm just wondering if they would consider just covering that up, if it's doable, if it's, EPA acceptable.
Or if they use it as a parking lot, would that make it more dangerous?
I don't know, that's what
Yeah,
I'm
that's the
saying, if it's EPA acceptable, I mean, the EPA may say, no way, you gotta clean that up before putting anything on top of it, but I'm thinking like, I don't know, is it going to emit fumes, or, I don't know. But I just think,
Jim would know.
yeah, he would know, because I know we talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, I'll put that on my list to check anything more.
What
I know
can-
this is a temporary solution. for the
Yeah,
time
yeah,
being.
I know, and it's gonna come up again.
It is. That's a question, where is it?
Yeah, what field?
I think it's the,
It's, well, it's where the softball,
Oh,
that whole area behind there,
okay.
which is really between, that area and the parking lot on the other end, so it's like that entire.
I do think that would be the best place to.
it's just gonna.
If it's a
planning.
if it's possible.
All right, I will stop sharing the screen.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is it's not really a picnic, I just wanted to point out. It's really not a picnic. It's just getting together and eating sandwiches. And chat and chew.
That's what I thought it was.
It's a chat and chew.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for doing that posting.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that we convey that there's no agenda and that it's really just getting together to,
Does someone
Be in community together.
be
Yeah.
in
lives in Brownsville want to take some posters and put them up at the butcher and the post office?
Sure.
I'll take some also, and I can get, go to the library, town hall.
Yeah.
I
We'll
can-
spread
We
it
don't
around
have
there.
very
Oh,
many
you have-
places,
I got-
so. The post office and the town hall,
The butcher pit.
yeah, and the
Yes.
school.
And the school.
Okay, I think school would do it. Yeah, what do you think?
The library?
Sure.
No, the library is not, I think the library is having another event that day with the.
PBS.
These are the-
Yeah.
West Windsor Historical Society. Oh. I understand. Well, I don't know anything about it except a message saying that that was the case.
Well, I have lots of questions about how to do this.
Okay. Lay it on me. What are your
Well,
questions?
one of them, I will be happy to be the point person, but who is their point person? Stephanie?
I will transfer point personhood from myself to you, and I'll copy you on the email. His name is John.
I just need to know name and email and also, should we talk, I think we should talk about what kinds of sandwiches, who's doing what? Do we need a platter of tomatoes and lettuce, kind of make your own? Because some people don't like tomatoes or lettuce, I mean, all sorts. Do we have plates? I don't think.
I got all that stuff, all the paper stuff already covered.
And the sandwiches would go in little sandwich bags?
Or wrap it up in like wax paper, or, you can wrap it up or do it however you want as long as it's not. Or you could even just put out a platter if you want.
Put what?
You could put out a platter with the sandwiches.
Oh,
I
okay,
mean,
okay, that's an idea. And when we run out of sandwiches?
Then it's the chat part of the chat shoe.
Because I heard, I think you mentioned, Vegetarian?
I'll do vegetarian.
Now, what would you do?
I'm not sure yet. I was gonna go on the net and get some suggestions, but I may do, cucumber, tomato, and maybe some hummus. That's one idea. I may do, egg is vegetarian, right?
Yeah, I was going to,
Because I mean, I know some,
I was gonna do egg salad and
Oh, you'll do egg.
tuna fish salad, but then have tomatoes and stuff, so
Excellent.
people could put it on.
Perfect.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's covered. What would you like to do?
Can I make a spreadsheet of this? And
Yes?
if everyone just sends me,
Oh,
what
thank
they're putting, just because,
I can do that.
you. So we do have paper goods, we have napkins, and we
Yep.
have, I like the idea of, wax paper, that's kind of,
Socially responsible.
I bought wax paper sheet, like, I don't wrap in plastic, so I have wax paper sheets.
yeah.
oh, you can buy those?
Yeah.
Where,
Yeah.
I just get them from like Amazon or the grocery sometimes.
I just use wax paper to wrap sandwiches.
okay, thank you. Well, I've got a thing on wax paper.
Apart from like what individual we're bringing, thanks for doing the spreadsheet, I
Yeah.
think it's a great idea. Are there any other logistical things that we need? Like what is the Scotty Outdoors handling? What I would assume is like tables, chairs, space. Do we need to like, do we want to bring a sound system? Do they have one there? I don't know, just anything
Do we need a
else?
sound system?
It'd be nice to have some music or
Background
something.
music.
Yeah. You don't have to.
I'll bring them.
Okay.
I'm assuming that we're gonna go into their little house. And this is the bathroom in there, and will they, if I'm the point person, I'll find out, get some tables for putting the sandwiches out and people can come.
Yeah. It's the regular Escutney Outdoors Center. Upstairs.
I don't know where it's at.
What?
I don't know where it's at.
Well, you know where the big sign that says Mount Escutney is? Like if you were going to the health,
To the mountain?
yeah.
Yeah.
So you just keep going instead of turning off to go down to the gym. You just keep going, and it's the only thing on the left-hand side
Oh, now I know where it's at.
where the ski operation.
And
Right,
most
okay.
people will park down in the parking lot, but if we come early, we can.
Okay, I know where it's at.
And just to be clear, I want to just say the address out loud in this meeting too, just so we're clear on that. Because I've been there for events before, and it can be a little tricky if you don't have the exact address, because it's like a weird little road that goes up to it.
It's been a while.
So, yeah, it's 449 Ski Tow Road in Brownsville, Vermont.
Okay.
And there is a sign for it, but you're going up, you go past the Scotty sign, I think you take the left if you're coming in.
Yeah, it's the only thing on the left-hand side.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
great big building.
And if you go underneath the ski bridge, you've got it.
Okay. I know.
Could you remind people right now when that is and what the goal is or whatever?
Well, the purpose of it
Is
is,
it this weekend coming up?
no, it's the following weekend. The purpose of it is, I unfortunately can't be there because I have to go to an out-of-town funeral, but, so it's Sunday, October 22nd from 2 to 4. And the purpose of it is to hang out together and get
And
to know each other.
everybody's welcome.
Anybody's welcome,
Everybody.
yeah, that's the whole point, is
Thank
to
you very much.
get people together, and there is no other agenda. And the enjoy every sandwich part of it comes from an interview between David Letterman and Warren Zevon,
Oh, okay.
in which David Letterman asked Warren Zevon if he had any parting words, because Warren Zevon was dying, and he in fact died a few days later. And Warren Zevon said, enjoy every sandwich and forget about your dry cleaning.
What was that last part?
Forget your dry cleaning.
Oh.
So that's what it is. It's just, there is no other agenda. We have, our board has access to Escutney Outdoors, through Shelley Seward from 1:30 to 4:30, and the event going from 2 to 4. I'm really sorry that I can't be there, but I can't.
You can't control that.
Nope.
We'll need someone to bring trash bags. I'm sure they have trash cans.
They do.
But we want to make sure that trash is taken care of. Thank you very much, Rebecca.
And is anybody bringing anything to drink?
I can get that.
That's a good question.
I can bring water, little bottles of water.
I'll make sure that gets covered.
Are we inviting community members to bring food too?
Sure, if they want to, but we didn't put it on the thing, on the poster.
How are we advertising this, like through Front Porch Forum?
Through Front Porch Forum, through the listservs, and through posters, and
Okay.
maybe Facebook.
Elizabeth, are you sending invites to your other legislator?
No. Why would I?
Well, the broader Windsor community. No, there's not anyone in Windsor, West Windsor, never mind, ignore me.
Why would I do that?
Like,
Because you're a nice.
in our district.
Oh, well, I mean, I could send an invitation to John and let him know that it's happening.
Just as,
I can send the, the digital poster and some of the details, just like address that people can bring their own stuff to the town of Windsor Post to get a newsletter. I did already talk to the Slack board and some other Windsor Town government folks. I think some of them are busy, but a few are gonna be there, so.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Did you just say that that you were gonna put something in the newsletter? Or do you
Yeah,
need
I
to-
already have a thread going with
Okay.
the select board and town manager, so I'll just add to that and say, here's the poster, here's some more
Okay.
details, if you can just pop that in the newsletter.
I also invited the police department, but I'll circle back with them to make sure that they know that I'm serious about them being.
So are we still just 10 sandwiches a person? Okay.
Well, you can make more. I
I think,
mean, you can make more, and if
I think
there's
10
enough.
I think 10 is plenty. I really do.
Good.
How many of us are
If
making?
you can't do 10, it's okay.
Okay.
I mean, if you can do a few, however many you can do.
Okay.
Don't, I mean, that's not the point,
Okay.
okay? The reason we're doing sandwiches is to make it easy and so that we don't have to have a catered thing. We're just sharing of ourselves.
I was just hoping it'd be enough.
Yeah, but if it's not, then I'll try, if I can, I will try to get a soup together, before then.
Then we have bowls and spoons.
Yeah.
Yeah, just really think about that.
I've got all that stuff.
Good. They also could put it in a cup.
Did word go out to West Windsor town government folks as well?
Word has been sent to them, but I will follow back and unfortunately, we can't attend West Windsor's select board meetings because they are always concurrent with our school board meetings,
Right on.
so.
Cool. Yeah, as long as I got an email, they're in the know, so. Mhm. It's gonna be fun.
Pics or it didn't happen. If you guys could take lots of pictures, that would really
Totally.
be nice. And okay. Anything else about this?
No, that's great. And thank you very much, Hudson, for making a spreadsheet.
Yeah, of course.
And
Like,
the posters, that's.
Something
Yeah.
genius, that one? That sign up genius?
I just did it in Canva.
Okay, you do whatever you did, I'm sure it's gonna be fine.
Anything else about that?
Does anybody else want to say what you're gonna do so that nobody else does it?
My kind of go-to is like crazy sandwiches, so I guess those are also vegetarian technically.
That'd be fine.
It's, mozzarella, tomato, balsamic, and basil leaves on some sort of like focaccia or something.
No, sounds.
I like it. Hopefully other people like that. And I'll try to grab some cookies too. I know a guy, so I'll see if I can get some cookies for it. This sounds great. I think it's gonna be a really good time.
I don't know what I'm doing exactly yet. I will come up with something. It will be delicious. I just don't know if it is yet. I like to see what's fresh at the store first.
Someone able to send it to the webmaster,
Yes. Go for
so it can go in the newsletters for,
On the website.
on the website.
On the school
A
website.
spreadsheet of sandwiches?
No,
I think we're going here.
But it's not a picnic. It's just
Hanging out, eating
yeah,
sandwiches.
sharing of ourselves, including sandwiches. Okay. The recommendation for appointment process of school board members. And also I'd like to tag onto that discussion, what other processes we should be thinking about.
Right on. I'm happy to review that one. I went back and looked at the notes that I had taken the last 2 times we did it. And I think that we had more or less coalesced around those with one exception. So I'm just going to review. If I'm missing anything, please let me know. I think that what we decided that we wanted to have as the standard is that we would do the executive session interviews, but we would have a public, an opportunity to do a public introduction for the folks.
Yeah.
Probably directly before that, so you can kind of have a public statement, maybe, have a little bit of Q&A if folks want to, and then we would do an interview. The questions are going to be available to the public. I think that was what we had decided on. So questions available to the public. We would publish our standing list of resources that we used for this last one. So, just look at the process information coming down from the state, some resources that we've been sending to folks, just so the community can also see that if they happen to be interested. Let's see what else there was. I think those are the main things. The question that we were still on was the length of appointment recommendation. And I know that was something we still hadn't coalesced around. I think that was the last piece that we wanted to figure out before we move forward and put this out. After we figure that out, I think we just want to decide how exactly this is going to be an enduring material, because it's not really a policy. It's more of I think of it as a process memorandum that we can post in in that file folder on the website, at a top level folder, We can figure that out. I just want to make sure it's accessible to the public, but it's not really a policy. So you kind of kick off the conversation about appointment length. I gave that some thought because I can understand that ideally, and this is just my opinion, I think that it is best if we can have folks, if they're appointed, run an election as soon as they possibly can. What I recall came up as a concern the last time is that there may be a situation where you have somebody appointed and there's so little time before the next election that you go through an entire 30-day process. Someone gets up there, they have 2 or 3 meetings, and then they're going through an election. So maybe having that as a hard and fast requirement isn't wise. What I thought might be a good kind of happy medium on that is to say that we recommend appointments be for more than 9 months. So if we were 6 months out from an election date and we have an appointment, then what we would say is it would go past that upcoming election to the next year, so that they would be there for functionally 15 months. Or 18 months.
Well, the problem was that if we do that, it throws off, you're forgetting this part, it throws off the whole election schedule.
It doesn't though, because we're having people complete terms, right? We're not
Not
resetting it.
necessarily, we've never had anyone complete a term except this time, because of what happened with
It's not completing a term though. It's just 1 year, so
Yes.
this is not completing a term.
This was very different from any other election, and all of us have been appointed, but we were all appointed for 3 years except for me because of.
No, that's not true.
That also isn't
We
true.
haven't all been appointed. You were elected.
Yeah,
I
but
was elected. We've all been elected.
when I was elected, it was for 3 years though. And when we appointed Bill,
We did appoint Bill.
It was for
Yeah.
3 years. And Rebecca, I don't have that
No,
one.
it was for several months and then I ran.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
and mine was finishing out Chris's term, because I think he only had like 6
Okay.
months left in his term.
So forget what I said, we'll just work over this.
I think it only throws the cycle off, though, if we say that when someone, for instance, like Megan, when we have a special election for the seat that you were appointed to, it isn't for a restarting 3 years, it is for the remainder of the term that was elected last election. And that would never change, like the terms of the terms. So I don't think, we would never throw off the schedule. We may have an election where we have more than 2 people up if there's an appointment that is for when an appointment comes up that doesn't happen to align with when that term would end. But I would not imagine we would ever we would never change the length of those seat terms. That wouldn't make
But
any
hasn't
sense.
it changed because this was a 3-year term that she
So
was,
the next person would only run for 2 years. They would
the
not,
next,
that position, if I'm understanding what Davis is saying, is it will be a 3-year position, but the person will only be in that position for 2 years and will have to run after the 2 years are completed.
I don't agree with this. I don't think it's a good idea because that means that half of the board is up for election in that scenario.
Okay.
That's
I mean, we
horrible.
already did
That means that half of the board
Hmm.
won't have any idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's happening this year though, when there's gonna be 3 seats up.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Who's up?
I don't know that that's a great idea for a board.
who's up with,
Rebecca and I are both up.
Can I ask a question?
and they,
And I apologize if this has already been answered. I know I wasn't here for one of the conversations about it. So say there's, someone resigns and there's 3 months left.
Mhm.
Can that seat be open or it cannot be open for 3 months?
It can't be, it has to be filled in.
they're supposed to fill it within 30
Well,
days.
so that's what I was, so it has to be filled within 30 days, or is it just that if you're going to fill it, it needs to be filled in 30 days? That was the conversation that I wasn't sure.
Oh, that's a
Cause and I've only seen that, and I know we're not the select board, but the select board can leave a seat open. And I'm not
We
saying,
have a totally different rule,
I
unfortunately.
know,
we
I
have
understand that. I was
totally
just
different rules from the select
making,
boards.
I just wanted to check to see if that was the thing. I was just checking to see if that was how it is for here too,
Mhm.
like if it's
Yeah,
different.
no, we have to fill it within 30 days.
We could, I mean, one thing we could do is if we can't come to any sort of agreement on this, we can just leave the length of appointment stuff out of the recommendations and do it ad hoc every time it comes up. I mean, that is.
I think
a
that probably is
possibility.
the best way, just to figure it out. As, just not even mention it, you know,
Wait, say that again? I'm sorry.
just do ad hoc when there is an opening, if it isn't exactly somebody resigning after their term, then you just figure out what it should be when the appointment, when the resignation happens. If it happens 3 months before, if it happens a year and a half before the term, so that we don't lose the terming, except this is terrible, it's 3 people.
Well, it doesn't mean we're gone, it just means that we're all up for election, but I think it would be
Yes.
that means that every time somebody leaves the board, we have a 3-person election. I just don't, I think that's a terrible idea.
This is the advice.
This is from Sean Tui, the legal counsel, yes.
Okay.
What did he say?
So he said, the board would fill the vacancy until the next annual meeting. It's under 16 VSA 731. So for example, if someone resigned today and they have 2 years remaining on their term, the board would appoint someone within 30 days to fill that vacancy until the annual meeting in March. At the March vote, voters would vote for someone to fill the 2 years remaining of the 3-year term.
To
Yeah.
fill the term.
So you essentially, it's until the March meeting, or you could do a special meeting and not wait until the March meeting, but you.
So every time somebody resigns, it's followed by a 3-person election?
Unless that person, so like when Chris Garnjost resigned, he only had, he didn't
No, he
have,
didn't
he had
have a
like
year.
4 months
Yeah,
left on his
right,
term.
yeah.
So I filled the space between, it was 5 months. So I filled the space, 6 months, sorry, math brain's off. So from July until the end of his natural term in March, I filled that seat. And then it was only Bill and I up because that concurred with when his term had ended. The advice from Sean, I'm seeing it, is that you should make every effort to have, regardless of whether it falls in a term, you need to have, you should have an election for that seat,
For the remainder of that.
for the remainder, whenever the next time, which is what we,
But we
what we've done.
essentially did.
Right. Yes,
Right.
that's what you did in this case. Yeah.
Right.
So in March, Megan's seat will be up and it's
Then it would
3
be
years.
It did 3 years, and then it would be remaining 2 years.
The remaining 2 years.
Okay,
So then I think we have our answer.
I mean, it seems that way to me.
Yeah.
so then the remaining 2 years, it wouldn't be a 3-person election the following time?
No.
Good, okay. We have a question.
Well, I was gonna mention that, and I understand there's a learning curve and a lot of, effort that goes into doing the right thing and learning the process and becoming part of the team. But I also wanted to say, I read that and, that you appointed, it's still the public who elects the body. And it looked to me, the public, like when you try to do it and then add the remainder of the term, you're not listening to the voice of the public anymore. You're listening to your small body, in my opinion. And I read that. I'm under the impression that it goes until the next March election.
I just want to clarify, that was an email from JP, not Shantui. JP at the elections office.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Oh, I said I'm gonna send it to Steve. I was talking to myself, sorry. Because are you gonna type this up?
I'm gonna, once we have this out, I'll type it up and then we can have it up as a memorandum and just, it's something that we can point to. I mean, so it seems like that's the guidance. So we're not even doing the 9 months or more. It's like, just whenever the next election is up, we would do an election for the remainder of the term if it's not the natural end of the term. I mean, I think one would hope that this doesn't come up often enough. I mean, this last appointment was a highly unusual situation.
Yes,
where
that
we
would
had-
never happen again.
where we were doing an appointment at the very beginning of a term, so you had that 1 year period, but
Right.
ostensibly, and the hope would be that if someone was either choosing to resign at a certain time or needed to, it wouldn't be that early in the term. So that you may have one election happen where there were 3 candidates up, but that wouldn't be a regular occurrence by any means. And it would never throw off the cycle because you would only, the terms stay the same.
Great.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, Davis, for all the effort you put in pulling this together.
And I never even thought about
MASD.
it.
Yeah.
Do you have other matters that you think we should address in a similar manner?
I don't have any off the top of my head, but I think that just in general, it's good practice if anybody thinks of any, or, I mean, the way this came up, and unfortunately, the way it happens sometimes in bodies like this is when we run into a process and we experience some difficulty, that's when we're kind of prompted to do that plus delta, what went well, what didn't, and then go through this process. So I'll kind of rack my brain, and if I can think of anything else that might benefit from this, that would be great.
Yeah, anytime it could be like a booklet online, essentially, more processes.
Sure. And if we see something coming up too, because obviously it's not always the best thing to just be like, well, we haven't done this in a while, and again, this kind of fell into our lap, and we had that 30-day window and just kind of had to do it. But if we know that there's some process that we're maybe not familiar with happening 6 months from now, maybe that can prompt us just to say, hey, let's sit down, let's do some research on how we've done it, and just normalize doing what we've done with this, have 2 or 3 meetings where we go through it, and I appreciate everyone engaging in this conversation so openly and completely. I think it's helpful.
Speaking of, I think I saw you on there, Christine. I was part of a panel discussion at
Oh, yeah.
VSB.
Yes, I was. I was a little late, but I did, yes.
That had to do with, and if you're of the mind, please feel free to watch it. It'll be posted to the VSBA website, but it had to do with public hearings. And Pietro Lynn led the panel, and I asked at the very end, I said, I learned a lot from that panel, actually, even though I was a panelist. And I said, so when we had the meeting about whether I had a conflict of interest or not, either it didn't fall within the 4 matters that public,
Executive?
no.
No.
Sorry. Public hearings. Either, there are only 4 categories for them. So either that fell into one of the 4 categories or it didn't.
Oh, okay.
And if it did fall into one of the 4 categories, we really screwed it up. And maybe we should consider going back and doing it again. And let's see. Pietro said that again, I highly recommend it. It's definitely worth watching. It was really informative, but and what are the 4 categories? The 4 categories are limited to, where are they? Employee termination, residency hearings, grievances by the association, in other words, collective bargaining, and expulsion hearings. And so that hearing that we had didn't fall into one of those categories, so we didn't screw up because it wasn't one of those. It has to do with our quasi-judicial role, and in which somebody's legal rights are being adjudicated. And he said, all parties have the right to present evidence, parties have the right to counsel. Everybody has a right to cross-examine witnesses, or all parties do. Results must be in writing, and results are appealable to a higher authority. And that we should remember that it's an adversarial system. So, again, a pitch for that panel because
Tell me again what to look up.
the quasi-judicial function of boards. And it was on October 3rd, 2023, and it should be on the VSBA website.
I wonder if that's something, because there's a good resource for that, maybe in the area that we're doing things like posting, like all procedural memoranda, we can post a link to that there too, just things that might be good resources to, just building up kind of a repository of policy advice memoranda, just enduring materials so that if that came up, we could say, like we haven't really done a quasi-judicial hearing, but we have this thing that we can all sit down and watch. And even if we've all seen it, remind ourselves of it.
I asked them to make sure that they have a written document as well to go along with it, because not everybody can sit and watch for a whole hour. And of course, there's so much in there that you really have to pay attention to. You can't have it going fast. And he talks fast. I was really surprised he got all of those slides in, but
It's on their website now, so.
Okay.
And maybe that's a good practice too, is that if some of this stuff, I think one of the reasons that we decided we really needed to sit down and talk through the appointment thing is that in going through it, there was really a dearth of material at the state level or from other districts about what best practice and procedure is for that. So we were kind of compelled to do that. Some of this stuff, like the quasi judicial, it seems like there's a lot of that material out there. So we may not need to sit down and go through that, but we can say, here's a tool that somebody else made that advises our practice on this. Let's just put that there so we don't have to go on a wild goose chase to find it.
Yeah, I wonder, you know, because you mentioned best practices, which I think is the educators are constantly looking at that and reviewing that. And we as a board maybe should look at, you know, one best practice, you know, every time we meet. I mean, it may not require much conversation, but just looking at, you know, this is best practices. I don't know how we would identify what exactly we would focus on.
Yeah.
But I just think that can become a professional development opportunity for us as board members. It's sort of, yeah, I don't know.
On the other hand, that is what we have VSBA for.
Right. And they do have some
And we-
great stuff.
I mean, we're bound by law to attend 8 hours of training every year. While select boards are not bound by law to attend any training.
Wow. Well, maybe that's where we can get one of those, you know, because I know I was attending them before often, but I haven't been in the last couple of months. But I know they offer some really good workshops.
Yeah.
And maybe we could go from there.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Anybody? Okay.
Cool. I'll type all that up and I'll send that to you and Larry maybe.
Yeah,
And we
get it
can
on the
just find
website,
things with it.
Yep.
Great.
Next on the agenda is debriefing building tours. Was there something specific that we wanted to?
No, I think you just wanted to be able to talk openly about the experience and what you noticed. That's what I recall. If anything came to light, I think you wanted it prior to budget season, in case there was something you wanted to address in the budget. That's my recollection.
So to me, I thought it was really, the timing of it was kind of cool in that we were able to see with our retreats and, you know, being here kind of as things were sort of in flux and getting set up and seeing, you know, we saw, Jim showed us Windsor School prior to everything being put together. And then we saw Albert Bridge School prior to things being put together, although not with a tour. And then getting only like a week or two later, a tour where everything was there. And I think seeing some photos, I was in the Windsor School after, like right after Jim showed me when everything had been built and put up, and it was just incredible how quickly and completely that work gets done.
Yeah.
So it underscored for me the appreciation that our buildings and grounds folk, for water buildings and grounds folks do. It's really incredible, that work. You know, so my sincere thanks to Jim specifically and our P&G folks in general. I mean, it's amazing and difficult work.
Yeah.
I also truly appreciated the different environments. I'm much more familiar with Windsor. I know what's around Windsor. I know what's in and out. But checking out ADS, I was just, I saw it had its own unique character, just like Windsor has its own unique character. It had its own unique character. Yeah, and both, you know, I just thought it was wonderful, you know.
I regret that on both days it was raining. Because I would have liked to have had an outside, like a really close look of the outside of both buildings.
Yeah. And I would love to have been shown everyone all the outdoor classrooms across that big field and down. It goes very deeply into the woods. I was very surprised because each grade has its own area, and the 5th and 6th is way out there. And they're making an amphitheater. It may be done, who knows?
It's not done.
And the transition spaces that building folks have created to transition kids, I felt, respectful of their age and their developmental space. I said, oh, this makes sense. You know, I mean, it's like, so kudos to the teachers, to the principal, I mean, you know, the folks that set the buildings up to allow the students to sort of like grow up, you know, in their space. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, this space is big enough for me, not too small. And as they're continuing to age, it's like, oh, okay, this space is. So it's set up quite well, I mean, and so.
Yeah, kudos to the maintenance staff.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And kudos to the principals for really thinking through about how it should, because it's not the same every year. How it should be structured next time. Yeah. Okay, and budget FY '25.
I just want to say that I've attended the second budget committee meeting, and Larry will be bringing that forward. But continue to try, and thank you, Christine, for really connecting that to our strategic plan and like really sort of continuing to keep us on track on, you know, folks, this came about as a result of community and staff cooperation, conversations, and this is the, you know, the road we're still on. And I guess you'll hear it better when Larry presents, but I thought that was really important because I immediately said, oh, strategic plan number 2, number 1, number 3, you know? But I think that it also helps the community, you know, it brings back, this is what we've been talking about for the last 2-3 years, this is the road we're going down. We've had, you know, some ups and downs, but we're still on the same path, and you know, some of the feedback from curriculum work that's been done, which was shared by Jennifer, sorry about that. All really speaks to the fact that, you know, yeah, this is all good. This is supporting the student, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
About the student. So that's kind of what it's all about, the student.
It took so many years to get us to a place where we can actually budget our values and our goals. I don't know why it wasn't, why it was so hard to get here, but I'm glad to get there. Yeah.
We're doing it.
So, what goals are you focusing on at the SU level?
We are focused on, well, all 3 of the goals of the strategic plan, but this year, the DEI coordinator goes into the SU budget, an ESSER funded position at this, for this year. And that's definitely in the strategic plan. We have recently stipended a communications specialist, part-time. And I know the goal is for that to become a full-time position as well. So we've hired, oh goodness, Brooke.
Winter.
Thank you, Brooke Winter. She's an alum of Windsor High School, so she's a communications major. Larry just kind of sealed that, and she is starting to, and it won't be an additional position, the way he's worked it out. We've had a retirement in the tech department. So this person will replace that retirement position and really focus on the web, on the website, which needs to be updated with current pictures and information. And then this person will assume other roles as we go forward. This year, she's very part-time, so her big priority assignment is the website, getting the websites up to speed. Any tickets we put in, I just put in the sandwich flyer, go to her, she's the webmaster. So it really is a tech, makes sense for it to be a tech position.
So she's taking the slack off of David's.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yep. So, I was just in the tech hub last week, and they were talking about those shifts, like what would it make sense for this person to take on in the future, so they're thinking about it as well. So other than that, let me think, Rebecca, this was just Friday.
I know, right? I know, there's just so many things going.
Christine, when is the next when does the next iteration of the strategic plan come about?
So that's a great question, which we've been thinking about. I mean, it's usually a 5-year plan.
What year are we in?
Well, we're in technically, I think we're in year 3 or 4. I'd have to look that up, but those years were during the pandemic, so we really got far behind. So I think we have a few more years on the strategic plan. We looked at it recently when we were doing the visioning work, and there are some things that need to be updated for sure. So I would say in the next, and I'll bring a report card. I know Rebecca asked, like, where are you at with each of the goals, so I have that on my list to bring the board. But I would say we're making some good progress on many of the goals, not all of them. So I would say by the end of FY '25, I think we should be talking about.
I mean, we don't want to wait until the end of the strategic plan to talk about the next strategic plan.
No, we don't, but I feel like we're really moving forward with a lot of the goals in there, and I would think next year we should start talking about that.
Okay.
For the end, for something to be in place at the end of FY '25. That makes sense.
Hudson, did I see your hand up out of the corner of my eye?
No.
I think those are all the big ticket items, Rebecca, right?
Yeah, I think those were in the tech, curriculum, we talked about that. I think, we don't have the numbers yet, but it sounded like Katie had,
Special ed, there were some
she had,
changes,
yeah, there were some changes there, but she pretty much had, she thinks she's in a good place, even,
I think so. She's got to complete the service plan. That should be this week. That gives her a really clear understanding what the needs
saw
are.
that.
Yeah. Did you raise your hand?
I did.
I think the
He was
piece,
just wiping his nose last time.
the piece that, I didn't get a chance, and then I went back and I looked it over, that we may want to talk about though is, the mental health, piece for our educators, in addition, to, for our kids, also for our students. And I think with the most recent report on youth risk behavior, it would be a really perfect time for us to put that in the agenda at some point and say, okay, let's look at what do we have in place for our teachers? Because I don't really know what we have in place for our teachers, and I know some schools are experimenting with literally having something in the school for teachers. I'm not sure what that would look like, but that's something we were talking about. In addition to what do we have in place for our kids, which we know are struggling.
Along those lines, do we have an EAP at the district or SE level? Okay, I thought so.
We do.
Sorry, employee assistance program. Usually it has,
Access to counselors, financial supports, all kinds of supports. I will say just some big ticket, not big ticket, but things we need to think about for Mount Scottney. The SAP is in place this year, 3 days a week. That's being paid for out of a grant from Mount Scottney. And
What's SAP?
You asked me this last time, Elizabeth, I got it wrong.
Student assistance prevention coordinator, something like
No,
that.
that's not it. Student assistance provider, I think it is.
And what does it do?
It's really, they work with students who have some addictions. So what we have in place now is if a student is caught vaping, we have it all laid out, what the consequences are for that. So a student can choose I think it's 4 in-school suspension dates, or they can trade 2 of those in-school suspensions for meetings with the SAP, for some coaching and counseling. And all, and to my knowledge, I think everybody that's been caught vaping has opted for that. So then she's Rachel's amazing. She works with parents as well. If students agree to it, she'll continue to counsel them and look for resources to help them, because it is an addiction. So that's a 3-day-a-week position currently, grant funded. We matched, this board matched, it was $20,000 from Mount Scottney Hospital. We matched $20,000 here for that position for this year. I don't know if there'll be grant money next year, but that person is really an important position to have. The other one is, Kate is trying out a planning room this year. So she used some of the funds, she talked about this with you all. Since she couldn't hire a health teacher, she has hired a planning room person. And that allows us to have someone who can supervise in-school suspension, who can help deal with kids who might need to take a break for a little bit during the day. So that, I mean, she reports that it's really making a difference in the feel of the school, the culture. She's also started some programs where students, she has 10 students in a program which is being run by Jen Townsend, which is the kids are self-contained with her all morning, and they're doing hands-on integrated math science. I mean, it's pretty incredible.
What is that? I'm sorry. You just said that she's got 10 students being
In the
shepherded
school.
by Jen Townsend.
Yeah, and
What
she
what
calls
is
it,
Is it for,
she talked about it,
is it
yeah.
for lagging students? Is it for advanced, or is it for
No,
students who want to do it?
it's-
How's it, if that's the case,
It's
how's it
students.
flexible?
Oh, Colleen, Colleen's gonna save the day. The name of it is what?
I believe it's called MASH with math and science.
It's,
This one is, it starts with I believe.
it's like an intensive, like, I would say it's for, like, kids who may not,
It's for students who have difficulty engaging in a traditional school.
where US history isn't gonna work. US,
You're being oblique, and I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, I'm not trying to be.
I know.
So it's a program that Kate is trying out for kids that were really disengaged in traditional school. So it's a more hands-on approach. It's a small group. They're not switching classes all morning. They're in a block with Jen Townsend all morning.
All ages or high school?
it's
or
just juniors.
It's just juniors, I believe. Juniors, I believe. It might be
There might
seniors
be
too.
one sophomore.
Yeah. So I'm gonna text Kate now for the name of it.
Do we think, would a way to, my understanding of this is that it's finding ways to engage students with subject matter they need to tackle, but using modalities that may not be available in the classroom
Yeah,
setting.
more traditional
Okay.
classroom, yeah.
Yeah. So,
And Jen can do that.
She is doing it.
She can do that. Yeah, she is that kind of an
do we have
educator.
the answer?
Hmm.
Hands-on interdisciplinary approach, yes.
Yeah, that's not the name of it. I'll get the name of it for you.
Hmm.
Anyway, if you're here, you should visit. This is
When is-
incredible.
So she does this
Every morning.
Every morning, from what time to what time?
I think they start at like 8 to 11:30 or
Where
lunchtime.
do they work out of?
So they're in Hannah Claire's old room, which was a smaller room. It's not a huge number of students. It is
In the science wing.
in the science wing, yeah. Across from the guidance suite now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we should probably just email the day
And
before
it's-
so that Jen knows that we
Yeah,
will be
she would
coming
love
in.
to, she would love to have you. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it only science?
She's integrating math and science.
Math and
Yeah.
science?
There is, I mean, it's probably a smaller ticket item, but I'd like to see some sort of slush fund for flexible pathways that is easy to access. Like, there's a whole process if you want something to be paid for. you have to fill out an application, and it takes forever to go through. And there's not just an easy, oh, I want to do this. Here, it's getting paid, like, it's not getting paid for.
Can you give an example?
Like, say if I was doing an internship and I had to drive, like, I could have gas miles reimbursed. Or
Do you know what that fund is, how much is in it, Hudson?
I think it's maxed out at $500 per student, which I think if, like, and I've taken a plethora of online classes, but like, if people want to go above and beyond, I think we need to pay for it, like, and even if, like, if you're going to public school, I don't think you should have to pay for anything for your learning. That's my personal opinion.
Agreed, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think we had this conversation a year or two ago, yeah. And Kate did say that the funds that they had in place were sufficient. But to your point, I remember saying $500.
Because
You're right. I mean, that really limits you as to where you go. And I know that I think it was used to support a student who was going to I don't know if it was
Police
police
academy,
academy,
yeah.
right? Yeah, but I just thought $500 then was very limiting, and I agree. I think that's in that students should really be able to think beyond that those like really narrow, limited, this is what we offer.
Because like, I went to Rockborough on Friday for an independent study that I'm doing, and I was at a conference. I had to, like, that's $30 on my own pocket for gas, which adds up.
Do you think we could hear about what that process is and what's available? And why it's a $500 limit? I think Kate said before when we talked about it, that nobody's ever used more than that, but I know that.
And how many kids utilize?
Yeah, and how many kids utilize it, and, like, I know the Center for Cartoon Studies is one of that, so it would break my heart if one of our students here in Windsor wasn't able to access any of those programs that are actually here.
Like, even if you want to take more online college classes, it's like, it's a pain, like, you have to go through so many hoops.
So include what the actual process is for
accessing funds.
For accessing funds.
Do you want me to send you the application?
No, I think we can just ask for a presentation on it next time.
Yeah, I'll put on Kate, I'll ask Kate. The other thing to just think about in terms of budgeting, our ESSER funds are running out, as of September 30th, I believe. So, each district, so Manascutney School District has 2 staff members paid out of those funds. One is the additional position in the middle level. And the other one, I think, was advertised but not filled. So there may be a conversation about that when we do have those positions that will no longer be funded with ESSER monies.
What position in the middle school?
It's the additional ELA person so that they could provide some intervention.
The person who
Left on, yes, this year. So it is advertised again. Colleen, do you know the other ESSER funded position in Mount Scottney School District?
I believe it was for intervention. And that was with Jen and I across Mount Scottney. Does that sound right, Jen?
Yeah.
In here.
The other, I'll just remind you, if I would, air conditioning.
Oh, right.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
Did Jim come up with I mean, did he come up with a recommendation?
Well, it's incredibly expensive to do it, central air, with the air handlers, it's like $12,000 per classroom. So he has suggested that we come up with a multi-year plan, and he can measure, if the board would like him to measure classrooms. You have to know size for what kind of, window units to get, which would be a less expensive option for the interim.
I saw it.
Except also the cost of electricity, and
Yeah.
that was one of the questions that we asked Jim, is whether there was any way to get solar to adequately provide the uptake in, or the uptake in, electricity use.
I saw people on front porch forum giving away, and so I suggested that they send them to the high school. I don't know if
I mean,
it
it might be a good idea to, in the coming couple of months, while people are switching to heat,
Yeah.
do an air conditioning unit drive.
Where would they be stored? Is there storage room for, I mean, that's a lot of air conditioning.
No, that was one thing that he mentioned, it's really, then we do
Yeah,
them,
what do you
like, you can, leave them in the classroom under the window, but they don't have a big, huge space for storage.
So what's the solution?
If you can, because probably the best place for them is in the classroom.
Yeah.
So that they don't go around trying to figure out where
Where to
to
put
go. I'm wondering if, the wood shop would be able to maybe in the corner of this classroom, some sort of a shell to push it under, and the teacher can use it for something, the outside.
It's a good idea.
Because if you put them away, trying to figure out, where they go.
Currently, the classrooms that have them, they stay in the classrooms.
Yeah, that's smart.
Is there prioritization in this kind of, and I know this still coming together, but is there prioritization for like the top floors and then working? Yeah,
Those are the hottest
yeah,
rooms. And it's one side of the building, versus the other side.
yeah, it's where the sun's.
Yes.
Okay.
My only other thought on that would be, the rolling, like the portable units versus window units. That way, if you have that variance of like, depending on weather, where the sun's hitting you, it's easier to pull those out and
That's
just
true.
roll them rather than having to do the
Yeah.
entire uninstallable window. Like
Yeah.
we switched one of those in my house this year. It's been way better.
Yeah,
So, but I think they can be a little pricier.
I think so.
So,
I do have the name, okay? It's called Interdisciplinary Learning Program, but they are working on something better so that the students have input in the title. So that's temporary.
Okay, this is the one with Jen.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, does Jen, she still is teaching her math and science classes, or is?
Her schedule's been changed to
She
accommodate this,
teaches
yeah.
calculus in the afternoon. It's like a double pre-calc and calculus period,
Okay.
which is through River Valley Community College. So it's one of the dual enrollment options.
Okay.
Okay. E, which is what I added in the beginning, when we were talking about, bullying reporting. And, didn't I say? Okay. So, I would like to learn how Burlington school system has created how the Burlington school system has created a anonymous reporting small bullying events system. I think they have it as a form on their website. How does that jive with the reporting requirement in state law? And I'd love to know whether whether we can do something like that. I hear from a few students, actually, I talked to a few students at the Autumn Moon Festival, and they're all in the same grade as my kid, but there were about 15 students. And they don't have a way to, they don't want to like file an actual full report and do a whole process. But they, you know, my concern is, I'm sorry, I'm not being very articulate at all. I apologize, but my concern is that the data that the state receives about incidents of bullying is related only to the process that students have to go through. And there is, I imagine from what, talking to these kids and to many other kids, that there's a lot more bullying that goes on that is not reported because the process of reporting is emotionally and cumbersome and takes a lot of time. So if there was a way for us to, like, if there was a way for a student to scream into the void that this is happening, that this, you know, all these paper cuts are happening, I'd really love to be able to, A, provide that for them, and B, capture data from it.
So currently, I think Angie came to this board. She has, her summer project was to create the system you're talking about. So she's visited each local board to show them. It's not live yet. It's going to be live on the website. And it's, I think it's exactly what you're talking about, a way for kids or parents or whoever to report. Now, I don't know if it's anonymous. That's a question I'll ask her. I don't think it
I don't
was.
think it is.
I don't think it
that
is.
Question came up, but I don't,
Yeah.
I think she said that was something that they were like thinking about, like what happens if it's anonymous? What, like there was concerns with that too.
How do we, you know,
How do you, so.
Yeah.
I would love to hear more. I think this is very interesting.
So her next step in the process, we were just talking about this, she's gonna gather a trained administrator or school counselor, that's usually who's trained to do the HHV investigations. She's gonna meet with each of them to really flush out the processes that each school uses. They should be all the same. We should all be using the same forms, but that was her next step. Make sure we're all on the same page with that, and then it'll go live on the website, and you'll be able to report. And so what typically happens when a report comes in is usually the building administrator has to do a little digging. So there's a report made. You've got to find out if it constitutes bullying, and then an investigation is launched, or harassment, and then an investigation is launched. Sometimes they're not launched because it doesn't constitute what was being reported. So that's our process. We follow policy. We use the VisBit forms that are.
I know. What I would like
pretty
is,
intense.
what I would like is a way to record the things that don't get actually processed, and also,
This should do that. I mean, this should be able to gather that information.
We put it in a power school.
Yeah.
It was in a power school.
because it is known that through, I mean, there is a lot of data out there that says that it's not just the person it's not just two people in the interaction, especially in elementary school. I mean, there are other kids who are harmed by those things and confused by it and don't know anywhere to go with it. And even if they had a place where they could say, this happened to my friend.
My concern is, and I think that we definitely should wait to hear from Angie, but that even if it doesn't go anywhere, how valuable it would be for us to acknowledge it and I don't know how you would do that, but to acknowledge it publicly, can't say that word today, because kids are watching and they're listening and they're saying, you know, I put that information through, no one did anything. And so that silence, you know, no one does anything, you know, and at some point I'm not going to even say anything because no one will do anything. But even if we can say, okay, this is not sufficient and to report to the state, but it's sufficient enough for us to say that someone is saying something to us here. And we're turning a blind eye by not saying anything, by not responding at all. So I'm just thinking, how can we be proactive and say, we're gonna capture this information, it's valuable, and how do we use it in a way that, you know, we're taking it back to the kids and.
I wonder whether it would be, I mean, it sounds a little bit radical, but I wonder if it would be useful to put it in a monthly newsletter.
That's honestly a great idea.
We could put, how to report in the newsletter? Or the
Yes,
or how
and
many?
the data. So parents can know.
So you want, how many cases were brought to our attention?
How many were open?
And then, so there's your predetermination, how many came to us as a predetermination, right, process? And we have to go through the predetermination, might it belong in a potential hazing, harassment, or bullying, might it, right, that's the technical word we get.
Well, I think that,
And then that would lead to an investigation, so that's a second level, so there's a predetermination, some get kicked back right away, like, this doesn't mean,
Right.
it may not. But if it might, then we go through an investigation process, and then after that, it may or may not constitute hazing, harassment, or bullying.
Substantiated or not.
So, that's like 3 different levels. And like, if you're in a really large system, I think that's fine, but if you did that at ABS,
I know,
and you said some version of like, you know, we had, 2 cases, one was bullying and one was not, everybody would know.
everybody would know,
Yeah,
I know.
everybody knew it was, and that's.
But that's why I'm saying that having just a simple blind and anonymous form might be
Yeah,
a great way to just collect that data and
yeah, I'll ask her.
I'm not giving you a directive, I'm just asking you what you think about that. And if you could follow up with Burlington to see what their process is and what they do with it.
Yeah, certainly.
Because I am inclined to just put it in a newsletter and let parents know the overall incidence in our, it doesn't have to be
In our
related to-
SU.
in our SU.
Yeah.
Here's the number of reports, here's what our, you know, how healthy our system really is.
It'll be easy to do that once we have the system for it.
Yeah.
But I will say, to Rebecca's point, I have to tell you, every report of bullying or potential bullying harassment is looked into. We have to legally, and we do. And if you mean follow up to the student that reported it, is that what you mean?
No, because I don't want to zero in on any particular student. I don't want them to, because they don't want that either.
Right.
But how can it become a teaching moment?
Yeah.
How can it be shared in a way where other kids who are saying, I know Elizabeth was bullied, but no one, you know, and I know she reported and no one said or anything. I think bring it out in the public. We know bullying goes on. We've been there, you know, we've all, you know. And so how do we just kind of say, this is a teaching moment to say, not acceptable.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this is, sure, we are challenged in our relationships, but this is not the way that this is not acceptable behavior. I mean, that's what I think you're trying to teach our students.
Definitely, and we do that in back to school assemblies, when we go over what is bullying, what is harassment, and teach the kids what it is and what it isn't, what they should do if they see it, and they shouldn't be a bystander, they should report it. But it's something that should be ongoing.
Absolutely.
Sorry, you need to say something.
Cool. I like the idea of, I think it'd be great to see the tool that Angie has developed for this and get a real understanding of that. And I really think it's important, especially before making a move to something like an anonymous reporting system. It would be really great to see a case study. So I think looking into Burlington would be really great. Or if there's any other districts or SUs in the state that do it, maybe just one, like Burlington and one other if we could.
We looked at Bellows Falls.
Yeah. That would be
That's kind of
fantastic. Just
what we went from.
some comparison points,
Yeah.
especially with anonymous reporting, because I know that theoretically, I 100% think that that's a great idea. Once those kind of things are implemented, though, some of the rough patches can come out. You can see some of the pitfalls of that might arise. Maybe
sure.
they don't, but
Yeah.
that's, I think that I agree.
I would think that the data would go way up and
then.
then level off. But,
Well, make sure that the system isn't, I mean, when you have something like an anonymous online or digital reporting tool, that also can be used.
yeah.
So making sure
absolutely.
that there are, if those have gone have been implemented, like what sort of protections are there to keep that from happening? Or have there been instances of that? Just those are the kind of questions that I think looking at case studies would help to inform us about.
And also, as I do have this other hat, I'd love to know how that intersects with the law and whether the law needs to be updated in order to account for nuances.
I mean, I think it'd be a great bill, the whole anonymous bullying thing.
In Texas, it is a law.
It
Every
should
school
be.
has to have an anonymous too, so it might be a place to get some data.
I just have a question about, like, so if there's one incident and more than one person reports on that incident, are the numbers 1 or is it 3? Like if 3 people?
Like one incident,
To
And
3
3
reported,
people
yeah, I was
report
just wondering what that kind of looks like.
so for that,
One incident, 3
it's one
people.
incident,
Okay,
but all 3 of those kids are tagged, the 3 reporters are
Mhm.
tagged, whether they're witnesses or one who is like, they are tagged in a different way.
so numbers could look, like if we're putting something in a newsletter, numbers could look like a lot weren't looked at, or
A lot
when
of
it's all the
reported
same,
and-
yes, incidents, so that's just something I would
Be
be
clear about.
concerned and clear about too.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's something that we're all doing it. It's bringing it into a system. We're all doing the exact same thing, making sure we're using the same forms and the same process. Some of what we've learned is it's not necessarily best practice to have your school administrator investigating the students that they, know and love, right? So it's better to bring in another administrator, another person that's been trained.
Or implement restorative practices
Yeah.
that start at a very young age
Very
and then have the grown-ups in the room who are part of the restorative
Yeah,
morning circles be
yeah,
the reporter or the investigator.
Well, maybe that's more what I was
Yeah.
getting at than any punitive action, a learning
yeah.
opportunity.
You want to teach.
How can we
right?
teach our
Yeah.
kids?
That's where we're headed.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, setting the next agenda.
One last thing.
Yes.
Larry put the financials in the portal. So if you have questions on the quarterly financial report, if I can answer them, I will. I can bring them back to Larry, however you want to do it. This is new for us. So he's not here, but he's providing the report. And I talked to him about it before the meeting, and I can certainly add it in my report if that's what you would choose.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Oh, before that, do we have to approve the resignation of the writing teacher
Um,
and Chris Rickett?
I mean, technically, we've had 2 teachers, 2 MASD teachers, 1 special ed teacher resign.
Huh, that's pretty early.
It's
Do you think
very
we should
early.
have an executive session discussion about it?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of the rules for going into executive session, make sure I'm not breaking any of those rules. I can say 1 teacher is leaving education, for sure. Just had reached a point where this is not what that person wants to do anymore.
The other two resignations were new teachers that had just started, and I guess it was just not the right fit for them. So.
What does that do for our classes?
Well, Kate has an applicant for the science position, and they interviewed today. I think it was, from what I heard from Kate, it was a good interview. She's checking references. For Colleen, so the person that resigned from middle school was that additional ESSER funded position, which made it so that she could have some flexibility and some leeway for intervention. So it's an extra writing teacher. And so she's worked with her staff to figure that out for the time being. The ACE teacher, we're down to one ACE teacher at this point. And so looking for another person. We've met with a teacher who is in the one position that's current about what we can do to support that role and come up with some creative ideas, including Katie teaching a couple social communications classes a week to help that person get a prep period. She's got somebody helping with case management, so that takes a little pressure off that teacher, but it's not ideal. But I will say I've been in that room a lot, and it's working. I mean, it's happening. It's going pretty well so far, even with the current resignation of one of the two teachers in that classroom. So, yeah,
How do you support parents in a situation like this who are a little bit anxious about the fact that their child's teacher is no longer?
Good communication. I know they've had some meetings. I think there's some they're looking at student schedules. So there are some ACE students that are hybrid. So they're in the ACE program for part of the day. They're in regular classes during part of the day. So they're looking at those individual student cases and making adjustments if they can. So yes, not great, but we're figuring it out, making it work.
Are there exit interviews planned with these?
Yep.
And.
If they choose to participate, Tina in HR.
So is that something maybe for next agenda, we do the official approval of those?
I think so. Yeah, we can put that on the next agenda. It wasn't on this one. And in terms of an executive session, I'm
just wondering if there was an incident that led to that taking place and whether there was, versus there being, I guess, anything we can do to improve, whatever
staff
circumstances.
retention, yeah, and, I think, not to my knowledge, I think, the high school science teacher, it was just a life, I think that person was torn and just decided this wasn't what he wanted to do anymore. I don't think there was any incident that precipitated that.
It just seems abrupt since it's so close to the beginning of the
I
year. Why didn't
agree.
they just like before the beginning of the year?
It's a great question. I think some people are on the fence and they put their best foot forward and then they just realize this is just not what I want to do anymore. It's not an easy job. We know that.
Yeah.
It gets harder and harder. And I think we're definitely putting systems in place to change the culture a bit and make it more positive, make it more student driven, really being clear about our expectations, which helps the culture when the students know what's expected and the teachers, hold kids accountable. It really helps, but it takes a little bit of time to shift that. But no one incident. I think the two new teachers, it just didn't seem like the right fit for them. So nothing huge. Unfortunate though.
Yeah, I think when we try to do things differently, like when we're trying to move in a more, I think, compassionate approach, it doesn't, it's not what traditional schools have done for a very, very long time. And I think it's hard for educators to know what that feels like until when they walk in the building, right? That's when you get the first glimpses of it. And it's not an easy shift. I mean, a lot of us have taken a long time to get there. Some people, like, we're asking them to do it. Like, you come in day one and you're shifted, right? So I think when we think about who we are as a community of learners, we're asking a lot of teachers. We really are. And they're doing an outstanding job, but it's not the right fit for everybody.
We are trying to shift, right? The culture of the traditional model just doesn't work for every kid. So we are working really hard to address that. And it's not everybody's cup of tea. If you're a very traditional teacher and you want kids to sit and be quiet, that's not what we believe in here, right? So, well, I mean, sometimes, but. So,
I think that's why that grow your own
yeah.
is really important effort. I know I've attended one meeting, but I think it's a really important effort because I don't think this is something that, I think it's gonna continue.
And we do have,
It's gonna get harder.
yeah, and although we're not finished with all the logistics of Grow Your Own, we do have one support staff member taking part in a teacher prep program so that she can become a certified teacher. Yeah, which is really exciting. Yeah, yeah, and we're supporting that however we can.
So that we can end,
Yes.
does anybody else have any things that they'd like to make sure we address on the agenda?
So just my battery's gonna die on this computer, so we're gonna talk about in the admin report, the flexible pathway process for funds.
Mhm.
And we're gonna talk about HHP system.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Resignations.
Will we have an
Resignations.
opportunity to hear back from how the students responded to the flyer?
Getting to why?
Yeah, getting to
If-
why,
If they're ready.
if they're ready.
Yeah, if they're ready. Yeah.
And we'll have a wrap-up discussion about the sandwiches, about how it went,
Yes.
and let you know.
Enjoy everything.
Then I think we should start planning another one,
Certainly.
planning another one.
Okay, enjoy
Every other sandwich.
I was thinking cider and pumpkin pie, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's lots of, although we won't be able to use, I mean, we definitely won't be able to use the Scutney outdoors once,
And it'll be too
Yeah,
cold
sorry.
for to exchange.
so,
Was it, Rebecca, you had talked about serving at the monthly community dinner.
Yeah, I spoke with Mary a few days ago and she didn't, our time is not due yet.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, I think the Legion was doing the next one.
okay.
I know she's been doing a lot of work to kind of, I think, reconfigure exactly how that schedule works. I've chatted with Mary about that too. And she was just like, yes, I'm glad you're interested. I'm working on some other logistics first, but she's, yeah.
Yeah,
So let us
we will be called.
Yeah, good.
Yes.
can we just quickly touch back on how we measure success at our next meeting? Because we haven't talked about that in a while. It's on our radar list.
And do you have Davis's procedure? We'll probably,
I'm gonna write that up and
yeah,
submit it
we'll
to
probably
them.
look at it and say, not next meeting.
I mean, I think it's a memorandum, so we don't have to vote on it or anything. We've all kind of verbally said that we're on the same page.
We don't need to
so.
look at it again.
We'll get it posted, and if anybody sees it and thinks there's something missing, we can always.
Oops. Hold on one second. So where does, in the folder that I'm asking you,
Okay,
in the folder that says documents, agendas, minutes.
on the website?
On the website for our board.
Yep.
We don't have a folder for any documents. It's all according to,
Yeah, I've
Meeting.
never been able to find things that,
and it's not,
So documents, agendas, minutes, so,
so if I were to type into documents, agendas, minutes,
Yeah.
the word resolution, I get nothing.
yeah.
Where's this search?
Let's see, hold on.
I think the board portal could use some tweaking.
Yeah, I agree, actually.
Because none of the, like, whenever we try to make things
Yeah.
available for the public to be able to see,
It's hard to find
it's
it.
dead after that meeting. And,
So you need, a folder, at least, right?
that actually has documents.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're
because
right.
we have the agendas and the minutes, but
So we just spent a year and a half working on a resolution, or a year, or 10 months, working on a resolution, and it's gone. I mean, it's not gone, it's there, it's in the last couple of minutes, but, or months, but it's,
Yeah.
if you were to type resolution and you'd get nothing.
Yeah, just tried it, you're right.
Yeah, searchability is not great in whatever the system is. And
So,
yeah, I think
and likewise,
that's-
if we wanted to, to make it searchable would be really, like, if we wanted to go back and examine, cell phones,
Yeah.
cell phone use,
Doesn't come up, does it? So,
we couldn't go back through year by year to see when, how, where have we come full circle on cell phones? We don't know, because we haven't. Have we come full circle on playground use? There are some issues that we keep churning through over and over again, and we don't have access to the minutes to be able to see accurately what.
okay, I'll talk to Larry.
Yeah, and that might be a good thing for the next SU meeting, so because it's a shared technology resource and it's not, that's gonna change. Like if we do change searchability or change,
Yep.
file structure, that's gonna change for everyone.
Yeah.
But I agree, I mean,
It's
I think
really
there could be
frustrating.
Yeah, the lack of searchability is really tough, and I think even just having like that top level folder for doing materials, you're not trying to dig through years to see when it came up last, that would be a really good addition to this, so. But
Or if I
yeah,
could put the document that has all the resources that I give to new board members, if I could just put it in there, so that if I get hit by a car, there it is,
Yeah.
Yep.
That would be helpful.
Okay.
it's okay to buy a car now.
But,
Try to.
Yeah.
yeah, because you said so.
Look both ways.
Every time I put my foot, I have my foot hovers over the curb, I'll think, wait,
Don't do that.
I think I said not to.
So would it make
Let it
sense to have a folder with board and materials, that would be an SU, no, that would be not happening.
I mean,
It should be,
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to individual file structure, we could talk about it, but I think this is probably a better discussion to have at the SU level, because those kind of practice changes are.
Why? Because we have our own folder, we can put whatever we want in our folder.
Sure, but if we're talking about searchability, that actually changes how the system itself works, and that's a shared system. So to me, it's like, if we're gonna open that can of worms, let's do it at that level, and then that conversation can emanate down rather than us trying to like poke it up.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to end this meeting, if that's all right.
Yeah.
I'll take motion to end the meeting.
Motion to end this meeting.
second,
Wait, who's the, did you?
Yes. And Nancy, did you second?
Yep.
I wasn't sure.
All those in favor of ending the meeting, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Separate.
No.
So, this